What if the thing you've been doing to feel safe is actually what's keeping your anxiety running in the background? Kind of like a browser with 47 tabs open. If your mind is constantly planning, scanning, preparing, replaying, and trying to stay a step ahead of everything that might go wrong, this episode is for you. Do you want to achieve your goals, but anxiety is tripping you up? Like to keep those fun weekend plans, but depression has you canceling again? Hey, I'm Lori, dog mom, lover of nature, and hygge enthusiast. Positive psychology skills help me overcome chronic severe PTSD. If you're ready to learn how to overcome your anxiety and depression and rediscover happiness and purpose in life, then get your cozy on and let's get started. Welcome back to Practical Solutions for PTSD. I'm so glad you decided to join us today. If emotional stress has been building lately, if anxiety, discouragement, or overwhelm seem to show up more than you'd like, let me invite you to join me for a 45-minute workshop called Calm Emotional Overwhelm. We're going to be talking about 3 practical tools that ease chronic stress, anxiety symptoms, and depression. This workshop is going to be held on April the 21st at 10 o'clock Central Time. It is free. You do need to sign up for it. And also, I wanted to say this. If you are in a time zone that just does not allow you to be there at 10 o'clock in the morning Central Time, if you sign up, you'll get a link where you can listen to it later. Now, admittedly, half the fun is going to be talking to you guys live. I'm really looking forward to that. But if you're not able to show up live, I totally understand. We have a lot of crazy schedules out there. But if you sign up, you'll get a copy of the link and you can check it out that way. And you'll be able to participate in all of the specials we have going on, with the exception of the door prize that you have to be there live for. But you'll get everything else. So be sure to sign up and set your calendar, your reminders to be able to come to that workshop, because you're going to learn some practical strategies. These are going to be real tools that you can use in real life, things that can help calm your nervous system when stress begins to spike. It can interrupt negative thinking patterns before they spiral out of control. Start shifting your perspective so challenges feel a little bit more manageable. We're going to talk about some of that one today. We're also going to reconnect to purpose and forward movement, which have a huge impact on how you're handling stress in your life. So you can sign up for the workshop by going to ceoworkshop.grwebsite.com. That's ceoworkshop.grwebsite.com and save your seat today. Again, this is free. It's going to be on April 21st, 10 o'clock Central Time. Just go to ceoworkshop.grwebsite.com, and I can't wait to see you there. So as I mentioned before, we're going to talk a little bit about the controllables in your life, and this can be a challenge sometimes. I remember I mentioned in the last episode that I wanted to control everything around relationships or take responsibility for it, because if I did, then I could manage whether or not I was hurt again or betrayed again. But the fact is, you just can't. It's not realistic. It doesn't happen. There are things in your life you just cannot control. But when we're trying so hard to do that, it can actually increase our anxiety because our mind is always on. We're always scanning for danger. We're always trying to prep. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a time and a place that you need to assess a situation, figure out what may or may not happen, and be able to plan for that. And that's a good thing to do. But at some point, you have to stop and just live that moment. You can't continually live your life in the scanning, is there anything going to happen phase. So the control addiction, it often shows up alongside hypervigilance. And this is a sense that you always need to be on. And that's just an exhausting state to be in. Instead of calming anxiety, when you think if I control everything, it will settle the circumstances and will prevent XYZ from happening. Well, the fact of the matter is you can't control everything. It's just the truth. And so when you're trying to control everything, it means you're multiplying responsibilities. You're taking on things that you just don't have any control over, which is then going to result in increased stress and anxiety, and that could result in depression and a lot of other things. So today I'm going to talk to you about a different skill, and how you can actually reduce anxiety in real time. And that is learning to control the controllables and let go of the rest. Now, I've also used the phrase here on the podcast that I learned from my podcast instructor, bless and release. I think of this often. This would be very similar in concept. But we're going to take a look at what is involved in a situation and learn how to focus on the controllables. You slow this down a little bit, control feels productive, right? It feels responsible. It even feels protective. You think things through, you anticipate outcomes, you prepare for conversations, you try to manage how things will unfold. And for a moment, that gives you relief. And there is a time and a place to do that. There is a time and a place to plan, to consider, to do your homework. But at some point, you need to let go of it, because when you're constantly trying to control things, you're training your brain to feel like, if I stay in control, I stay safe. So your nervous system adapts and it becomes a full-time surveillance system. That full-time surveillance is a key part of PTSD, where you're always on alert, you're always hyper-focused. You're scanning for problems, you're tracking variables, you're trying to predict outcomes. This hypervigilance is exhausting because the job you've given yourself is literally impossible. You're trying to control things that were never yours to control. So anxiety does not go down. It stays elevated because your brain believes the stakes are everywhere, that you have something to take care of all the time, that there's something that's your responsibility to handle at all times. If you're a person of faith, you're a follower of Christ, this is a really great time to take in that first part of the Serenity Prayer. I love this so much. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can. Key point here, the wisdom to know the difference. Oh my goodness, that one is so huge. The wisdom to know the difference. Because anxiety thrives when everything feels like it's your responsibility. But peace begins when you start sorting your world more accurately. Not everything is in your lane. Isn't that a relief? I mean, just accept, you think about that. I mean, in some ways it's scary to let go of control. You're like, whoa, what's going to happen when I let go of this? But it's also a relief. I don't have to handle everything. Now, just like a really simple example of this to kind of drive it home. It is a simple example. I talked about this in one of my newsletters last fall. I bought my home, it's been about 12 years ago, and I planted a garden in the backyard. And when I started it, it had loads of south and west sun. It actually gets really hot back there, but it's a great place for gardens. I mean, I would get so much sunlight. I planted a blackberry patch, and I had this, tiered bed I would plant my vegetables in, and it was wonderful. Well, then my neighbor behind me decided to let this maple tree grow up. And I can remember when it was like 12 inches high. Well, now it's like 12 feet high, and it's right on the edge of his lot and right next to mine. And it shades the very area where I planted much of my garden. Like my blackberry patch now goes into shade like at 2:00 in the afternoon, if not earlier. And my tiered garden bed that my parents helped me build goes into shade very early. So my plants aren't getting the sun they need. Now, obviously, I've been watching this happen for the last few years, and I have been grumbling about it. I was like, I just hate the stupid maple tree. It's so annoying. It's shading my garden. It's not growing. But I literally could do nothing about the tree because it wasn't mine to do something with. It belonged to my neighbor. He chose to let it grow. I had no control over that. I could grumble a lot, but it wasn't helping me. So last summer, I was standing out there, and I was once again glaring at this tree because it was ruining my garden. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute, Lori, you need to take your own advice and control the controllables. Can you do anything about the tree? Absolutely not. But you can do something about your garden. And so last year, I did like a low-hanging fruit. I moved my potted plants, like tomatoes and peppers that I was growing in pots. I moved them to my kitchen steps, which I don't use. They're just sitting there, and it gets loads of sun. And my plants did so well. And then when you think about it, the maple tree, like the leaves they produce, oh, they are so good for a garden. So much nutrients. You break that down, like when they fall, when the leaves release in the fall, and you gather them up, you let them dry out, break it down, put it in your garden beds. Oh, they just so much rich nutrient food for your gardens. And as I mentioned earlier, my backyard can get super hot in the summertime, and this tree is providing some awesome shade. So I can sit there and complain about this maple tree, which I can do nothing about, or I can adapt and release the maple tree. And when I did that, I started finding benefits. And I, adapt in my garden. Now, some of it's going to take more work. So I'm going to have to dig up my blackberry patch and replant it. There's more design work to go into that. But when I decided to let go of the maple tree, because I can't change it, it released the stress and immediately opened my mind to new options and new opportunities. Some of them which were super easy to implement and will be fantastic in the end. I mean, eventually I'm going to actually build a shaded retreat that I can go sit and hang out under the maple tree. That's where I'm headed eventually. So this is the benefits of letting go of the things I cannot control and understanding how I can adapt to that and how it can change my life. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind is when you're looking at the controllables versus the uncontrollables, is this is a dynamic process. Sometimes you'll have something in one column that's going to move to the other column. So, I need to pay this bill off in 5 months. I can't do anything about it right now because I'm waiting for a paycheck from whoever. Maybe somebody owes you a couple $1,000s and they're going to pay you in 3 months. And then you can pay that bill off when you get the money and it's taken care of. But today, you can't do anything about it. So for today, you put it in the non-controllable column and push it down until you get down 3-4 months down the road when you get the check from the person who's going to pay you, and you can put it towards that bill, have it all paid off. Again, a very simple example, but that's how your controllables and non-controllables can move dynamically. Sometimes things are going to be in your control, sometimes they're not. And having the wisdom to understand when it's in one column versus the other can really help you. Now, why does this help you? Understanding what the controllables are and focusing on that. One of the great things is it helps you to focus your energy because you only have so much physical, emotional, and mental energy to apply to the problems and challenges in your life. There's only so much of you to go around. And that's for everybody. So if you think about it, and I've used this example before, but I'm going to say it again. If you think about energy as money and say you have $100 worth of energy that you need to apply to the multiple problems in your life. And all you're going to get is that $100. You're not going to get any more. That's it. Where can I most effectively and wisely use this $100 of energy? Now, I could sit there, going back to the garden example, I could sit there and stress about this maple tree and waste $25, $30 worth of my energy that it just nothing. It just goes to nothing because I can't change it. Or I can say, look, the tree is something I cannot change. Let's take this whole $100 worth of energy and put it towards restructuring my yard. And maybe taking advantage of the fact that I have a maple tree shading my yard instead of grumbling about it all the time. So I'm focusing that energy on what I can change. And that way I can use the full $100 of energy towards making real changes that actually impact my life, as opposed to wasting it grumbling about a tree I have no control over. So when I say control the controllables, I'm not talking about controlling everything you wish you could control. If I had my rathers, that tree would probably come down, although I would be missing out on a lot of blessings. But we're talking about focus your energy on what is actually within your direct influence right now. Now, again, there may be things down the road that you can change, but what's in your control right now? So your words, your actions, your boundaries, your preparation, your response to a situation. All these are within your control. What is not in your control are other people's reactions, other people's actions, outcomes you cannot guarantee, timing that isn't yours to decide, the past, someone else's choices. These are all things you do not have control over, and you have to let them go. And trust me, letting go is not easy. But it is so, so, so important to do that because it frees you up to be able to focus on the things that you can control. And letting go is not giving up. It's recognizing the difference between responsibility and attachment. You can care deeply about a circumstance or situation with something that you cannot control. You can care deeply about it without carrying the responsibility for it. Now let's talk about a tool that you can use in real time. When anxiety spikes, I'm going to walk you through this. And this is something in the workshop. I'm going to walk you through a very practical example. We'll get into a little bit more. So you can sign up. Just go to ceoworkshop.grwebsite.com and I'll give you another practical tool. But here's one I'm going to teach you today. Step number 1 is to name the trigger. What exactly is creating anxiety right now? So for me in the garden, you want to be as specific as possible. So it was this goofy maple tree that was driving me insane, which actually now that I've let it go and decided to adapt, the maple tree doesn't bother me as much. Imagine that. Name the trigger. Be specific. Number 2, sort it. Right now, not forever. So just go through it right now. What here is directly within my control? What can I change about this situation right now? What is outside of my control in this moment? Now, it might be something I can control in an hour, in a day, in a month, in a year, but right now it is outside of my control. So that's important to understand this in the moment because it could change. So keep that in mind. Step number 3 is to act or release. If it is a controllable, take one grounded, realistic action. This can be hard. Take 1, not 10. So when I was looking at my garden and I decided to let go of the tree because I couldn't change it, the first thing, it was so overwhelming to me, and this is one reason why I resisted for so long, is I did not have the time or the energy to redesign my entire backyard. I spent years laying it out the way it is. I'm like, I just can't do this. It's so overwhelming. And so then I stepped back. I was like, what is one thing that I can do today to make a difference? And I was looking around. I looked at my kitchen steps. I'm like, that's it. That's easy. I can pick up my potted plants, which are not getting enough sun right now, and move them over to the kitchen steps. It took an afternoon. Bam, done. And I had these beautiful, beautiful plants, great peppers, wonderful tomatoes. It produced so well. It was just beautiful. And bonus, every time I looked out my kitchen door, there's these beautiful plants I could look at every morning when I was getting my breakfast ready in the morning. It was fantastic. So take one step. The other thing is if it's something you're going to release, consciously let it go. And I did with that tree. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to grumble about the tree anymore because I can't do it. How can I work with the tree instead of constantly fighting it? Now, if your mind decides to argue and you struggle letting go, that's okay. I mean, even with a simple example I've used today, I struggled with that because I didn't want to have to redo my entire backyard. I liked it the way it was. And I didn't want to let go of that control, but I did. And it's made a world of difference. So if your mind argues, that just means that your nervous system is used to overfunctioning. But you go to step number 4 and you re-anchor your focus. So you're letting go of your tree, whatever that tree is in your life, and you're focusing on what you can change. So I'm going to put my $100 of energy where it can actually make a difference. For me, in the example I've used today, it was moving my garden, my potted plants to my kitchen steps, which I never use. I never used that door. And so it was just a perfect example. It took like an afternoon. So say something like, I'm going to put my energy where it actually makes a difference. I'm going to let go of the tree. I'm going to move the potted plants to the kitchen steps. Put it where it can make a difference. So this is not avoidance. This is wisdom. This is precision. This is putting your $100 of energy to work for you where it can give you the greatest return for investment. Now, how does this how does this reduce your anxiety? Control spreads your energy very thin. And we've already talked about this $100 worth of energy that you have to spend, and that's all you get. If you're spending it on something that you can't change, it leaves less for you to use on what you can. It keeps your brain in this loop. You're constantly scanning and solving, scan, solve, can't scan, trying to find a way around the problem, around issues that you really have no control over. But when you're focusing only on what you can control, it does something powerful with your brain. It reduces the number of variables your brain is trying to manage, which lowers your stress. It conserves your energy. It brings your nervous system out of overdrive. So going back to the example we use in the opening, instead of having a website with 47 tabs open, you close 40 of them. So now you only have 7 that you're managing, and you can do that. So suddenly things are quieter. It doesn't mean it's perfect. I still have to redesign my backyard. There's still a lot of work I can do, but it's manageable. So it's not necessarily a 100% perfect solution, but it's a manageable one. It's one that I have control over by letting go of the tree. So let go of your tree. If you're living in survival mode, this shift might feel a bit uncomfortable at first. And trust me, been there, done that. It can be hard to let go of those things that you want to hold on to and change and make different in your life. One of the things that makes it so difficult to let go is your brain is used to equating control with safety. Like, as long as I control everything, I can be safe. But safety isn't found in managing everything. It's found in managing what's actually yours and trusting God with the rest. So letting the rest be without chasing it, fixing it, or carrying it. So start small. One situation today. Take a situation, take an example of something that you're dealing with and break it down. What are my controllables? What are my uncontrollables? And what can I let go of and focus on what I can change? So sort it out, control what you can, let go of what you can't. And remember, there could be something that you need to go back and check later because things will shift. Some things are going to be permanent. In case I buy the guy's property behind me, I will never have control of that tree. And that's okay. I can let that one go forever and ever. There's going to be other things that I can control from year to year. Well, life is dynamic. Things never stay the same. So this could be, you need to stay on top of this and do that a little bit at a time. Your role in different situations will change over time. Your influence will change. So keep practicing discernment as you approach situations. And remember, peace does not come from controlling more. It comes from focusing better. And to use the other phrase is to bless and release it. Those things that you can't control, give them over to God. Let go of them. Let Him have control of it. Focus on what you can control. And I promise your stress levels will come down when you do that. And if you want to learn more about this and another practical exercise, one that's very effective in helping you to be able to sort through your controllables and non-controllables and to focus your energy, be sure to join us for the workshop. You can go to ceoworkshop.grwebsite.com. That is for the Calm Emotional Overwhelm Workshop. So just go to ceoworkshop.grwebsite.com to sign up today. I cannot wait to be there with you guys. It is going to be so much fun. So be sure to sign up and I'll see you there. One final reminder to go to ceoworkshop.grwebsite.com to sign up for the Calm Emotional Overwhelm Workshop to be held on April the 21st at 10 o'clock Central Time. See you there. Hey, my friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with someone you know who may be struggling with depression and anxiety? Also, would you please leave a quick review for the show? Knowing how this podcast is helping you fills my heart with so much joy, and it motivates me for future episodes. For now, it's time for Sam and I to head outside to enjoy some sunshine and fresh air. We'll see you back here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for more great episodes.